Happy Friday. I hope everybody is having a good one and happy first official day of Mercury retrograde. So, since it is retrograde, let me know if you guys can hear me okay in the comments. I was trying to go through StreamYard to make it easier to pen stuff and all of that, but because it's retrograde, it would not work. So, we just being janky as always, but that's what we do. So, hey Carson, hey AUPZ23, good evening. I'm gonna let everybody have a moment to get in here. We are going to be reading on the royals tonight. We're not doing any mediumship readings on Queen Lizzie anyways, because number one, why would I want to be in that person's energy? But also, whenever anybody has just passed anyways, we don't pull on their energy doing any type of crossover mediumship type readings anyways. We let them do what they need to do, and trust me, I don't even think she's made it through the first level of Hades yet. So it's going to take her a minute to go meet her maker. And her maker ain't the same maker as mine. So just a fair warning. A fair warning to everybody. If you are a God Save the Queen monarchist type person, we ain't that kind of channel over here. We be dragging, and if it is appropriate, because Spirit tells us some bullshit that they be doing, we gon' drag. We don't believe in all of that. Like, oh my God, just because somebody died, we have to like have all this respect for them. Because if you a demon in real life, I ain't gonna sit there and canonize you as a saint once you gone. And let's be honest, she is the face of colonization. So we're going to be focusing though, like what's the monarchy going to look like under Charles, and will it last? Will William ever be king? What's going on in the marriages? That kind of stuff. Will they ever like resolve everything with Harry? Just, for those in case you missed it last time, stay on topic to whichever subject or questions that we are reading about in that moment. If you have a separate question that you want answered, you can super chat, and at the end of the live, I will go through all the super chats and answer those questions. Next week, we're going to do all about the Kardashians thing, because I think it's easier to just, unless something big happens, that it's like, oh my God, we need to read on that. But usually I'll do a standalone reading anyways. For now, I kind of want to do lives where it's like we pick one topic or family or something and kind of just dig in and like get all the questions and everything out of the way on them. And of course, we will have a dedicated live coming up to Nicki Minaj. We're just waiting for, at least an album announcement or the documentary or something more to come out. So we have a lot more to talk about. But while we are letting everybody in, did you guys get a chance to listen to the Super Freaky Girl remix with all of the extra ladies on there? And what did you think? Hey, Ronnie. Hey, Leah. Hey, Deborah. Hey, BJ. Hi, Teddy. Afro Kitty. Eldub. Robin. Hey, Amanda. Hi, Tessa. Hey, Lisa. How is everybody? Ronette. I was telling my Patreons this morning in our live that we did over there that I almost and listen, again, disclaimer, for those who aren't in my Patreon and didn't hear me say this part, I do not co-sign or agree with probably 99.99% of the things that Akbar V does or says, but the girl is very talented. And I know she's wanted this for a long time. And when I saw that she was on the remix, I'm not going to lie, I got a little emotional for her. And then when I heard her on there, I was like, oh my God, and she did a good job. So I was happy for Akbar. Hey, Louisa. Hey, Mimi. So I was just happy for them. And then I was also telling my Patreon, I was like, Young Miami is such a bad rapper that sometimes I'm always hesitant to give JT like as much credit because I'm like, maybe she just seems so good in comparison to Miami, but like hearing her be able to hold her own on the Nicki song, I was like, okay, I have to give the girl her flowers now. Like she knows what she's doing. So I loved how like it was like the variety of all the girls, and I loved that she didn't pick like big people that everybody already knows. That she gave a lot of the girls that have been really trying, to get their name out there and to get things going for themselves. Like she gave that opportunity to them. And this is the thing that I'm like, why do people always say Nicki doesn't give the girls a chance? Because Nicki's always been collabing with the girls. So that's when you know they just be wanting to hate. So anyways, I haven't gotten to listen to the whole song straight through yet still because it's just been a crazy day and I was trying to get so much stuff done. But what I did get to hear of it, and like I said, I got to listen to all of Akbar and JT's parts by now. I was like, okay, they did a good job. So, like I said, I was just really, really like happy for Akbar because I know that this is something that she has worked really hard towards, and hopefully it gives her the motivation to keep doing good because she seems like she's been out of the drama for a minute. At least I haven't seen her on the blogs lately with the drama. So hopefully that continues. So yes, Deborah, that was a big part of, I saw everybody commenting. I thought Diana said that Charles would never be king and like disappointed in that. I've always felt like Charles would be king, but he would somehow be the last. But I want to see what Spirit says today because, things can change or whatever. But that was what made me first want to, like, just go ahead and do the readings on that today. But then when I saw how everybody was using this as an excuse to, like, jump down Meghan and Harry's throats again. And I was like, how do they have any control over this? And, this is one of those situations, like when you really think about it. Say if Meghan and Harry had been in California, just minding their own business, doing their Spotify podcast, and she passed, then everybody would drag them and it would somehow be their fault that they weren't there when it happened. But then now everybody keeps mentioning Harry wasn't there in time. He came after she died. Oh, Meghan wasn't invited to be at the bedside. Well, William also was not there when she passed. He arrived afterwards. And Kate also didn't go. But nobody's saying that. They're just saying it in the context of Harry and Meghan weren't there to make it seem like they don't give a fuck about the family or did something else wrong again. So that's why I was like, you know what? Let's just fucking like do a reading because it's so annoying. I mean, listen, nobody's saying you have to like Meghan Markle or Harry or be on their side or any of that, but just the way that like there is entire channels that seem to be dedicated to like dragging this girl on a daily basis. And I'm just like, what does she even do? Because the only time I ever see her is when she's doing something like going to the Invictus Games with Harry, or they're at the UN, or she did put out a Spotify podcast. It's like it kind of seems like she's like just doing her own thing, but everybody seems to think that she's like doing other shit. So it's just, at this point, it's like just back off of the girl because y'all are being bullies. So, well, they can't skip over people. Hey, Ayana. Hey, Robin. Hi, Ahira. They can't skip over people in the line, I guess, from what I was reading, unless there was like an absolute real true reason why. So even though I'm sure a lot of people just wanted it to go straight to William, you know, there's a reason why it didn't. And honestly, I keep feeling like in the spiritual sense, like William is never supposed to be the king. So that's why. Because it's almost like it feels like, and it doesn't feel like this is like purposeful, like, oh, William's getting some kind of karma as to why he's not going to be king. It seems more like on an ancestor level, like part of the whole spiritual war that's going on, that they're like, yeah, no, fuck that. The monarchy just needs to be done. And it's like William doesn't deserve the karma for it ending while he is in charge or around him. And it's like Charles deserves that karma. So we'll see what Spirit has to say in a minute about it. Yes, Mimi, they literally will do anything to paint her as the bad guy. And it's just like, oh my God, like, just like, because I mean, I've watched some of these videos just trying to understand the other point of view to see is there something that I'm missing. But it's literally them like, oh, look at her dress didn't fit her right, and them dragging her for like every little thing they can find, and none of it has real substance to it. So, hi, E. How are you? Exactly, Leah, because it's like, what the hell are they even doing right now? His grandma died, and everybody's like dragging Megan for that, and I'm like, well, what is she even doing? I haven't even seen a picture or a video of her anywhere. Just all these stories about how she wasn't there or some shit. But it's like, but what does she even do to people? So let's see. You know what? I just keep feeling that William is a lot more like their dad, and maybe some of the angry feistiness that Prince Philip was rumored to have. I think that Harry is much more like Diana. We're going to get to that. That's one of the questions that we will ask. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Spirit just about, you know, Charles being king and what we all need to know. And I have to say this too, you guys. I did have to have a moment and check in with Spirit and be like, are we all going to hell for laughing at all these damn memes that keep popping up? And Spirit's like, well, no, and that's where Queen Lizard is anyways. So I was like, okay, then I don't feel bad anymore. Dude, I literally threw up earlier because I started laughing so hard that iced tea came out of my nose. And then I choked, but it was worth it. Somebody took the videos of King Charles walking around, shaking people's hands and smiling with them after the announcement was made that his mom had passed. And they did two. One of them, they put the Moment for Life from Nicki Minaj playing over it. And the other one was The Lion King, I Can't Wait to Be King. I'm sorry, like I lost it to those two, and when I started like choking on my freaking tea, because thank God it was iced tea and not hot tea, because that was too freaking funny, man. These damn memes between Irish Twitter and Black Twitter and like all the freaking jokes and everything that y'all have been coming up with, I have not stopped fucking laughing. And also, guys, if you're in my Patreon, you already saw this. If you haven't, go to Kanye's post on Instagram. It's an account called Kanye's Post. Somebody printed out and had framed that tweet that he said that Kim has diarrhea all the time. And they hung it in their dining room, and I was just like dying laughing too, because I'm like, why are we like this? Like, We don't take anything serious on the internet. Like some of us need the internet taken away from us at this point. Yes, he had a 70-year internship. That's what it was, Deborah. And the ones with like the people that were saying like it's my grandma's birthday, unlike some other people, and like just I couldn't. It was bad. That's why I said I really had to stop and ask Spirit, like, am I like racking up some bad karma for laughing at this shit? And they're like, are you responsible for apartheid? Like every time I ask, Spirit's just like telling me about some more colonization shit that lady pulled, and then I was like, I don't feel bad anymore. Dude, they were lit, man. Oh my god, I was just like cracking the fuck up. I saw that a bunch of people thought they were talking about Queen Latifah. That had me laughing too. And the ones that they were like, make sure Stacey Dash knows. And you guys, you know what I just thought about right now too? Remember, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but they were saying that what do you call? Because you know Harry has that memoir coming out. They said that apparently there was supposed to be like a first part that was going to be released, and then after the Queen died, they were allowed to release the rest of it because he didn't want to upset her. So now I wonder if they're like in the publishing house being like, never mind, stitch the whole book together. Because isn't his book supposed to come out like in the next couple months? I wonder if they're going to change it now since she's passed. And what does it have to say that he was so like, oh, we can't say that until after my grandma isn't here anymore? Because that's going to be interesting. And also, like, you don't care that your dad's still alive and hears this? So, like, or your brother? That's why now I'm like, I can't wait until Harry's book comes out. I want to see like what it says, and ooh, we will have so much to talk about when that drops. I'm sure we'll probably end up doing another live to catch up on, all the new information and everything that's going to come out and all the new questions that we will have. Okay, so the first thing that's coming up, just like, because I just did a quick general poll on, like, what do we need to know about Charles, as king, and then we'll ask the more in-depth questions. Um, the first thing that's coming up is, if you guys have heard that there was rumors that, like, Charles, it was weighing on him so much that like him and Harry weren't getting along, or that there was this rift going on in the family, and apparently he's the, one that like William is kind of at the place where it's like, fuck it, who cares? Everybody else is sort of just like whatever, but apparently according to sources they always say that like Charles is deeply heartbroken about this and wants to repair the relationship, and he wants the whole family to get along. That is coming up as being true. And it's coming up that there's something about him feeling like, now that I am king, now that I do have all of this power and I can make the decisions completely on my own without having to go through Mummy first, maybe there's something that either I can personally do that's going to be that solution to make everybody suddenly like get along with each other. Maybe the grieving process of having lost grandma and mom will bring the family back together. But he's hopeful that like this whole situation is putting him and Harry and Meghan in a place where healing can happen and the family can reconnect and rebuild. That's his hope. It's going to be a lot harder than he imagines it to be. And the funny thing is that even though, and I've talked about this in previous readings on the channel on the royal family, so I don't want to like go farther into it since we've already covered it before. There was offers previously to Harry of come home, we'll give you this much money, da 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 da. But of course, it was always like without Meghan. This time, Spirit saying, because they're saying Charles was never the one that was saying without Meghan, it was other people in the family. This time, I'm Papa Moneybags. Is money is what you want? I'll give it to you. Charles actually likes Meghan a lot. So I don't feel him having the same problems with her that like maybe some of the other family members have had. But Harry's at the point where it's like, just because grandma died, you're the king, and now you have all this money that you want to hand out to me does not solve anything. We didn't get your guys' support. I came to you as my dad so many times begging you for help, and you kept telling me, well, chap, that's how things have always been done. So why now are you going to go and change everything when you could have gone and tried to change it for me in the first place? So what's coming up, I'm going to answer that. Don't worry, okay? So what is coming up is that there's actually going to be a deeper divide in the family, and it's not going to get better, is what Spirit is saying. It will be very up and down, up and down, up and down, and then it just kind of dies in the water, and Harry walks away from it, throwing his hands up and saying, I can't. And Charles, I feel, still being very befuddled about, well, I don't know what else to do. But what Spirit's saying is that Charles lets William make a lot of decisions and guide him and boss him around. Like, this is the thing. Charles is not his own man. He never has been. He was always out there acting under the direction of the men in gray suits or what his mom or his dad told him to do. The only time that he ever was his own person in any sense of the word was when he was cheating with Camilla. That was like Charles's like act of rebellion. But as far as like actually like being your own person, having your own way to do things, all of that kind of stuff, I don't feel like he really actually is. Spirit keeps talking about him being very influenced by William, and William almost being more of the dad in this type of situation than Charles is, because William is very cutthroat. William is very like, get to the point, this is what we need to do, where Charles is much more emotional and wants to weigh everything out, and William's just like, nope, this is the way the institution does it, just do it. That's the way we've always done it, just do it. And so what Spirit is saying is that William's influence and like Harry realizing that William is the one that's really pulling Dad's strings or ordering Dad around or having more of Dad's ear is just going to make Harry feel like you're not even being my dad. You're being William's dad first, and then you're just giving me whatever's left over. And like, that's even worse than what I left, and I'm not okay with that. So there's something here that Spirit is saying William and Harry are never going to make up completely, you guys. I feel like Harry will be okay with his dad in the sense of like, I still want to have some sort of a relationship with you because you're my dad, but I don't feel it being, I'm coming back to live with you guys, you're getting what you wanted, we're all having a great time. It's still very strained, and Harry being like, I'm never coming back. But William and him, it's not good, you guys. Not good at all. And I mean, they're beef with each other, stems back from like many past lifetimes, is what Spirit is saying. So it's deeper than anything that's happened in this life. But it's just the way that Spirit is saying between the two boys, it's like Harry has really seen William for who he is, if that makes sense. Like, I used to have this idealized version of you in my head as my big brother, and I believed the hype that you were so much like our mom. But now I realize I was the scapegoat kid. I was really the spare. I was there to make you look good. I was there to do your bidding. I was there to do everything that you wanted me to do. And I supported you through everything and did all of that and made you look good. And when I need something, you're acting like I'm a whiny little baby. And just get over it, Harry. And it's like, I've been getting over it my whole life. I don't want to anymore. And so they're at this standstill because William is not a compassionate person, is what Spirit is saying. Harry, like, got all of Diana's compassion and empathy, and William got all of the family's drive and ambition to, like, be a leader and, you know, be the public figure and put on this, like, persona of who you want the world to believe that you are because you're going to be the king someday. So it's just, they've really come to a point where it's like we are so completely different. And if we were not part of the same family, we never would have been friends with one another or hung out with each other or had anything to do with each other. And it's just one of those things that Spirit's saying, you know, they'll put on a smile in public. We may even hear lies from royal sources claiming that they're getting along just because they don't want the drama or because Charles doesn't want the drama, because I feel Charles telling his staff to put out a lot of puff pieces about how the family is all doing great, but they're never really going to make up with each other. And by extension, Harry's never really truly going to make up with all of his family. Spirit saying he will always be close to Eugenie and to some extent Beatrice, because he was just always closer to them, and Eugenie has really kind of taken their side in all of this anyways. And I do feel like there's other cousins and whatnot that will leave the royal fold, and Harry will become closer to them as they leave because it's like, oh, we have the bonding experience of like, y'all left too. But like, I don't feel Harry ever moving back to the UK. Spirit saying he wouldn't. He doesn't want to. He's over it. If he moved anywhere outside of America, it would be to somewhere in Africa or maybe like Germany or someplace like that. But like, he would never move back to the UK. He's just done. And the way that they've treated him since he left and everything that's going to happen going forward will only solidify that and deepen that divide between him and the rest of them, is what Spirit's saying. So let's see. What? Spirit, please tell me what will happen with the monarchy. Will it last and William becomes king? What can we expect with this? Thank you. Oh, somebody's going to have another baby. This feels like Kate, though. I never felt like Kate was done having kids. But the pregnancy card just fell out, and Spirit told me to pay attention to it because I usually don't lose cards when I'm shuffling, and it was the pregnancy card, and they said it was Kate. Yep, okay. There's a huge scandal coming Charles's way still. There's something about they didn't pursue it as heavily as they would have because the queen was still alive. But it's something about giving money to the wrong people or accepting bribes or money from the wrong people. Like, oh yeah, I'll take this private jet as a present from, you know, the king of Saudi Arabia. And then all of a sudden their project, for this or that thing, like is suddenly getting approved. It's like a lot of that kind of stuff. There's a big scandal coming Charles's way around this that's gonna hit within his first 6 months of being king. So it's like, here you are reveling in, you finally get to be king and have that position that you've always, dreamt of being someday. And then there's this huge scandal around it, and people are calling for him to be dethroned and saying that he's super corrupt. And it's going to bring up a lot of stuff from his past. Like, oh, remember in 1973 when this happened too? Because it's like he's done stuff like this in the past before, but now it's like so egregious. And of course, we take things like that much more seriously these days as well. So there is that that's coming up in his underlying energy. Also, when I was sitting down and just like, getting ready to do the live and stuff and thinking about everything that was going on tonight, Charles will not last as king as long as Queen Elizabeth. As in, I don't feel like he will be alive as long. Not that I'm like trying to predict people's deaths or anything. It's just, she was a hell of a lot healthier than he is. And I don't get that he's even going to have a whole good, like, scandals aside, decade of great health that lets him be, like, this great and wonderful king. There's something here about health issues possibly making him have to walk away, combined with all the other stuff that's going to be going on, because more and more countries are going to leave the Commonwealth, especially now that the Queen is gone, and it's like we don't have to like do this out of duty or obligation or respect for that old lady anymore. Then we especially, don't need to stick around anymore, because like this was bullshit anyways. But like, why the hell do we want Charles of all people being like the king of Jamaica or the king of this place or the king of that place? So there is a lot more that we're going to see of people just being like, we're not a part of the Commonwealth. Fuck that. We don't want to be involved in this. Because there's something about this, like, you waited all this time, but then finally when you get it, it's embarrassing more than it is a good thing. Because I just keep feeling like he's going to be constantly embarrassed or let down, because it's like every day, oh, this country doesn't want to associate with you anymore. Now this country is actually like not only saying they don't want to associate with you anymore, they're protesting in the streets about how fucked up and horrible you are and all the shit that you've been involved in. People are calling for your head. It's like stuff like that where it's just constant criticism, people leaving, people dragging you, everybody calling you out for your shit, to where it's not a good time and it ain't a fun time. I give it 8 years tops that he is the king. Because literally, like, every 8 in my deck, like, came out. And Spirit was saying is in reference to the timing. And it's not going to be a great and wonderful 8 years either. He's actually going to have to step down because of his health reasons. I don't feel his reign ending due to his passing like his mother. It literally is, I have to take a step back. Like, I can't do this anymore because I have all these health issues, other stuff going on. But this is the funny thing. Spirit keeps talking about it being this big influx of, we don't know what we're going to do when he steps down. It's not an automatic, oh, Charles stepped down, so then William automatically gets it. There's going to be, we have to go to Parliament and decide what's going to happen now, because we don't have any more countries in our Commonwealth, and most of our own people don't want a monarchy anymore as well. And honestly, guys, that's going to be the end of it, because I don't see anybody liking William enough that they're going to go and bend all these rules or go out of their way to keep a dying institution alive just so that way bald ass William can be the king. It's going to really piss Will off that he's not going to have that opportunity to do that. I'm not going to lie, he's mad, but William is not going to be king. Because the funny thing is, like I said, I feel like it's like they're going back and forth, trying to decide. Something happens. Charles is no longer on the earth anymore. And then it's just like, well, sorry, Wills, we're just going to be a republic now. Bye. Like, you guys were just, I mean, they're basically just like there for like the aesthetic anyways these days, right? Like, we don't actually really truly influence anything. We're just there for the looks. And to say that England still has a royal family, but, you know, it's like, okay, well, you're really not needed anyways. You're just a placeholder, and that's costing us more money and more controversy than it's really worth. So, well, don't talk about other channels in my comments, guys. It causes drama that we don't need, and on top of it, why do I care what other psychics said about something? I care about what I got. And you guys, when you're getting readings, because I have to like teach this to people all the time, like say if you've never had a reading with me, don't come into the reading with me and being like, I just had a reading with Mimi Mama last week and she said this. Don't tell your psychic that you just talked to any other psychic or what they said, because number one, you want to make sure that the psychic that you're reading with is getting their own information, true or false. At least that way you know, like, it 100% came from me and not I was influenced because you told me Mimi Mama said something and then now I'm just agreeing with her or disagreeing with her, you know, because I'm being lazy and I don't want to like actually do the work now. So it's not trying to be negative, girl. It's just so that way you guys know, because trust me, I have seen some unscrupulous psychics over the years just agree with whatever somebody said another psychic told them, or say the complete opposite, just, you know, to hedge their bets or whatever. And it's not worth paying money to go tell somebody what somebody else told you. Just, you know, keep it to yourself and get whatever the reader says, and then whichever person turns out to be true is who turns out to be true. Or if they both say the same thing, then, you know, maybe that means that everybody's really tuning into you, and that's your surefire, yes, that's going to happen. But also don't call 28 people asking the same things either, just to see if somebody else says something different, because that's when you're going to guarantee that you're not going to get any readings that come out correct, because the universe is trying to tell you you don't need to be a psychic addict. So, anyways, let's get back to this. So, what do we need to know about William? And we'll get into his marriage with Kate. Good old Kathy and Billy. That's what I always think of them in my head. Bald Billy and Kathy. Well, you know what, Leah? It's just, to me, I'm like, they are the literal faces of colonization. They are the literal faces of chattel slavery, colonization, apartheid, like we can go on and on about all of the horrible things that have happened to people of color over the years because of Billy and Kathy and Liz and Uncle Charles, y'all. I guess we could call him Chuck, right? Isn't that, because I was like, what is the nickname for Charles other than Charlie? And I was like, oh, Chuck. Got Liz and Chuck, Kathy, Bill. You know what, Deborah? I'm not sure about that, if they can still keep their titles and live in the castles and all of that, even if they are dismantled. Maybe some of the Brits in the chat can let us know about that one. Listen, I don't trust anybody who owns literal castles but can't get some fucking Crest white strips and Invisaligns. Okay, like my middle class parents put braces on me, which guess what? Like that's not like I'm like, oh my god, like we so had it or anything. I'm just saying if my middle class parents who were cheap as shit and didn't hardly pay for anything bought me braces and they never bought me shit, I'm the kid they didn't like. Can you, like, there is no excuse as to why any of these people in the royal family can't have straighter teeth, not even perfect teeth, just straighter teeth, and use some damn whitening toothpaste every once in a while. So, oh my goodness. Okay. Well, the first thing is these cards are just confirming that good old Billy ain't what we think he is. Like, Spirit's talking about somebody that really is an entirely different person in their real life and around the people that they really truly like know and trust, and like I can actually be who I am around you. And then everybody else gets this dressed up royal version of William. You know, the genial, I'm Diana's son and I'm the future king. And look at me and my perfect Barbie doll wife and our perfect little 3 perfect Barbie kids, you know, and all of that. But yet, when you step behind the curtain and you're in his actual, like, real true circle, vindictive, mean, angry, very, like Spirit keeps talking about, very quick and short tempered. And the funny thing is that everybody always wanted to make it seem like Harry was like the short fused one, or the one that was always quick to like flip out or make a mistake or get upset or whatever. But Spirit is saying that William is actually the one who is much more angry like that. It's just that he's much better at pretending and hiding who he really is. You know, with Harry, Harry's not, like Spirit's saying, Harry's not a fake person. So just like most people who are not, you know, putting on some kind of an act or anything like that, are the ones that are going to, you know, like you're going to see their messiness, because it's just like whatever moment you catch me in, you're getting the real version of me and who I am and what I'm feeling and what's going on in that moment. I'm not going to dress it up. I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to pretend. Whereas William, it's like I'm very controlled in my demeanor. I know how to like play the game, put on the facade, and then as soon as we're in the car, I'm screaming at everybody. even though, like I acted like it was completely fine before we got in the car. So there is a whole lot here about, all of these different like versions of him, because Spirit's saying there is several different versions of William that people get. Also, again, it comes up that he does cheat on Kate. We've talked about this before. I've always said that he is very much his daddy's son in that sense, that he's a cheater too. So, you know what, Mimi? That's what Spirit is saying is that Diana did such a good job of keeping the boys really grounded, but he did always like know like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be the king someday. And as he got older and the more that that seemed real to him, and the more that it was like, oh, you can't go play ponies with Harry because you have to go sit and learn how to do high tea with the queen because that's what the king is gonna have to do someday. The more and more that that stuff really started to get into his head, and the more and more that as time went on, it was just like, well, I'm going to be the king someday, so everybody's going to have to listen to me. And the only thing that really kind of like held him in place was that there was other royals who were much more senior than him. But Spirit saying, obviously things have only progressed in the sense of like, really, I mean, up until grandma died, it was only her and your dad who were the ones that were your seniors at that point anymore. And Charles and the Queen were including William in so much of the decisions that they were making, especially in connection to or in consideration with all the Harry stuff that happened. And Spirit saying is like, once Harry got married, that's where things really started to spin out of control for William. And honestly, you guys, I think a lot of that, and I think the reason why, because I just said, what do we need to know about William before we start pulling on him and Kate's marriage? I think that's why Spirit's bringing up the cheating again, too. Because if you guys didn't know, for a long time, like for years and years and years, any time that there was going to be a bad story that was going to come out about William, they would go kill it in the press and run some crazy story about Harry instead as a distraction. So when Spirit was calling Harry the scapegoat and saying like, you were always the distraction, or they'd push you out in front to make William look better, that's what they're referring to. Because there was something like, do you guys remember when that whole Las Vegas, oh, Harry was playing pool naked with people before he went to the military scandal that came out? I didn't know this. I just heard about this like sometime in the last year. Apparently, there was some big ass scandal that was supposed to come out about William cheating on Kate. And that's why they killed that story and then pushed out all these stories about Harry partying in Vegas. And a big part of Harry's getting mad at his family was that he found out that they were the ones that were always putting out all the stories about him to distract from William, because it was like, oh, Harry's the wild child, let's focus on that. No, William's good, we can't have anything bad come out about him. So because of that, also helped to entrench things. But what Spirit is saying is Harry getting married meant Harry's gonna settle down. And especially, again, like we talked about last week with Ben Affleck marrying girls like Jennifer Garner and Jennifer Lopez, where it's like they're not party animals. They're moms, they're career women, they kind of just like do their own thing, but they're not these wild, alcoholics or any of the other stuff that you would think that somebody like a Ben Affleck would date. It's the same thing that William saw in Meghan. I can't we can't release stories about Harry going butt naked through Vegas, drinking and doing all this stuff because he wouldn't do that because look at who he's marrying, and now we will not be able to use him in the same way as the same distraction from my shit the way we used to. Because Harry's just going to be in the house with his wife and kid anyways, so it's like, how can we plausibly blame that on him? But then guess what happens? Oh, let's pick on Megan instead, and we can use her as a distraction from my stuff. Because don't forget, there was an affair rumor that came out that William was supposedly screwing around with one of Kate's friends. And then all of a sudden, there was all these stories that came out about Harry and Meghan that took all the heat off of that. Just like if you noticed, a few weeks ago, that whole Prince of Pegging story was out. And then what did they do? They had to make a big old deal about dragging Megan for filth for the podcast. And then, oh, look at what her dress was ugly somewhere or something else. And I just remember they were like dragging her again for God knows what this time. I honestly think he is, Mimi. Think about it. William's the one that also likes black women. It's just that he had to marry who was the most appropriate person to be queen someday. I mean, Meghan's beautiful. And it does seem like her and Harry are happy in their marriage. So, let's see what Kate and Will's marriage is really like. And listen, Kate knows that he cheats on her. And she always expected it because Spirit's saying that, like, William was cheating on her back when they were dating in the first place. And throughout their whole, like, early part of their relationship. And that's what took so long for them to get engaged and all of that anyways. And what Spirit is saying is that, it's one of those things that anyway is like, it's just expected, like, oh, you're marrying a man of this caliber or in this kind of a family or this kind of an environment, so it would only make sense that of course you'd have to look the other way. So she has the same sort of arrangement, agreement, whatever you would want to call it, as a lot of these women do. Just don't get caught, don't embarrass me publicly, don't be messy about it. So, not that it doesn't bother her, it's just that she's much more like, well, this is a small price to pay if I'm going to be not only the future Queen of England, but also the mother of the future kings of England. Oh, shit. Are you serious? The Queen Mum. So you're talking about Charles's grandma, right? The Queen Elizabeth's mom that looked almost exactly like her. I used to get them confused when I was younger, and like they would be on TV because I thought they were the same. I remember my grandma and my mom and like the older people in my family, like every time they'd be on, they're like, that one is the mom and that one is the less old mom. Because like I would be so confused because I thought they were the same old woman. Wait, what? William's degree is in geography? Wow. Well, listen, Harry didn't even want to go to college. He just wanted to join the military or move to South Africa, and they wouldn't let him. So I don't really blame him. And I'm sure most of the shit that they made him study in school, anyways, was like how to be a prim and proper little prince boy and not like, the kind of education that you or I would get if we went to school. So let's see. Okay, this is what's funny. First and foremost, I feel like when the monarchy does dissolve, William and Kate trying to kind of do this thing of we spend half the year in England and then half of it somewhere else. And I don't know why I just keep getting like Sweden or Switzerland or like some country around there as to where they'll end up living, at least part time or whatever. However, I do see they're going to end up moving there completely and then they're going to quietly separate. Because Spirit keeps talking about, like, once the monarchy is done, especially, it's like, what is the point in these two people holding on to this marriage anymore? Especially when we get to this point that we're talking about, 10 plus years from now, where you've had a lifetime of being with this person and having them cheat on you and all that kind of stuff and everything. And Spirit keeps talking about it being a very quiet separation. Like publicly, they'll still go to events together and hold hands and act like they're married, just like Jay-Z and Beyonce do. But they don't live in the same house. They don't sleep in the same bed. They only communicate through the assistants about like, oh, you need to pick up one of the kids from school at 6 o'clock on Friday, and then meet at this public event Saturday evening and wear this gown because this is what color my tie is, so we match, and I'll see you at the gate at 7, like that kind of stuff. So they definitely are not going to make it in the long run, both in the monarchy and in their marriage. Also, when they do have their little separation of sorts, guess who's going to get herself a little boyfriend? Kate. I keep feeling like she's going to end up hooking up with like one of her bodyguards or something. And it's funny because when I said that, Spirit said, and that's how William really is like his dad. Because remember, Diana cheated on Charles with the bodyguard. Because at that point, it was like, you're just going to keep cheating on me, so fuck it, I'm going to go have some fun too. And she started hooking up with the bodyguard. That's what it feels like. It's something very similar to that. Kate is going to keep her little boyfriend. He might be 5, 10 years younger than her, cute little bodyguard or somebody that works with her like that. So it's still, she's able to kind of like keep it discreet, but they'll just live their separate lives and try to keep everything as quiet as possible from, the rest of the public, but they're not going to last in the long run. Oh my goodness. Well, I feel like she's going to try to have another baby. They'll act like it was some kind of a surprise. And honestly, Spirit said people are going to be talking like this last kid too. Like it's like, oh my God, Queen Elizabeth reincarnated and was born to them again or something, and like try to like, how people are. They always want to act like somebody is reincarnated and born back into the same family. And honestly, this is also what's funny that Spirit's saying. Because Kate wanted more kids, William didn't want any more. He's going to allow her to have another kid because it's going to be like, oh, well, look, this will look good for my dad and take a lot of the heat off of like everything that's going on. And it's like, oh, for the PR for dad's sake, so we can continue the monarchy. let's go have another baby finally. Like, even though you've been begging me to have another one since you were pregnant with the last one. So, I don't know how tall she is. I just thought about that right now. I've never thought about whether or not she even was all that tall until you said something, Deborah. I have no idea. All right, let's see, Spirit. I mean, Spirit saying we don't gotta even bother looking at Charles and Camilla's marriage. They're two peas in a pod. She's his surrogate mommy / lover, which is what he always needed and wanted. Like, they're actually happy together and their relationship is fine. That's like the least of his problems. Plus, they're so old anyways. The Spirit's like, at this point, it's just like neither one of them even has the energy in them to be like, let's get a divorce or let's cheat or any of that, even if they, absolutely did hate each other at this point. Teddy, we call it the royal jingle jangle. We were talking about them one time, back when I used to be on Station Head, which, again, if anybody watches my old videos, I'm not on Station Head. I have not been on Station Head for like a year and a half. Because every once in a while somebody asks me, I can't find you on Station Head. I'm like, oh, I left that shit show a long time ago when it started becoming a shit show. But we were talking about them and we were saying, like, we can't even imagine. And the same thing you just said, Teddy, them doing the devil's tango. And I was like, I feel like Kate wears like one of them flannel nightgowns that goes to her ankles. And they like sit there and have a whole conversation about they're going to go to bed 20 minutes early tonight to have the royal jingle jangle. Oh, damn. I didn't even know all these women in that family were that tall. How tall is Megan? She's not that tall, is she? What do we need to know about Harry and Meghan's marriage? Thank you very much. And listen, I know Harry and Meghan said that they're done having kids. I always imagine that, what do you call, I always just feel like they're going to end up adopting a little girl. I always keep seeing them with like a black daughter that they adopted from like, someplace in Africa that they go to, and Spirit keeps always talking about like, we kept going to this one place to do all these like missions, and we built a relationship with this little girl, and we just fell in love with her and decided like that she just fit into our family, and so we decided to adopt her and give her a home and a family. So, and I always feel like Diana is somehow connected to that, and that's what's really like 100% gonna tie things back to Harry feeling like, wow, my mom is really 100% with me. Oh, dang, Megan must have looked like a little tiny shrimp next to all them people. I'm trying to think now, like, well, no, Megan always wore pretty tall heels, though, so she always seemed like she was not a whole lot shorter than them, but it's like when they didn't have their heels on, she probably did seem like a little munchkin next to the rest of them. Because Harry and William are both 6 foot plus, right? And also, again, just talking about the royals, when people see that half of Harry's cousins are redheads, everybody on Diana's side of the family is red-haired, and Prince Philip was a redhead. Why do people still think that just because Harry has red hair, it means that he's not Charles's kid? Diana was a redhead as a kid. Like, That didn't have anything to do with James Hewitt. That was just their Diana and the Spencer family genes, and then Prince Philip's doing as well. So, oh my God, I have not. Didn't Tracy Ullman used to have her own show? I think I remember my mom watching it when I was younger. I don't think I've ever seen her. Um, I don't think I've ever seen Tracy Ullman pretend to be Camilla. Now I gotta look that up later though, because I was like, that actually sounds really funny. Because I don't know, like the way that you're describing it is actually like hilarious because I always think of Camilla as somebody that it's like if she was American, she'd be wearing like camouflage and duck hunting and chewing tobacco and spitting it. And really being one of them like backwoods chicks, like that go out and hunt hogs with the men and all that kind of stuff. So your whole like Tracy Ullman explanation of what she portrays Camilla as like fits right along with like the image that I've always had of her in my head. So Harry and Meghan's relationship. As long as, see, this is the thing, okay? We have the wheel here, and what it's talking about is that things can go in either direction as to the ultimate, like, outcome of their marriage. And what Spirit's talking about is if there ever was to be any kind of a separation, it wouldn't be because Harry cheated on Meghan or Meghan cheated on Harry or because either one of them was social climbing and found a better opportunity or any of the other crap that people always constantly want to put it on. Honestly, what it would come down to is careers taking them away from each other too much and all of the drama and the crap that his family constantly throws their way and then influences the general public to also do. Spirit's not feeling confident that they're gonna break up. There's just a warning that like if Harry isn't recognized, isn't cognizant of we have to make an effort to not let the outside world get between us and to spend as much time together as possible and still make those moments. Everything will be okay between them. But that's the same thing that could be said for most relationships, anyways. Overall, they're like, first of all, it always comes up that Harry is very head over heels in love with Meghan. And that is the first thing that pops up when I pulled the cards on their marriage in the first place. And then he puts a lot of pressure on himself. He feels like he needs to be the main provider in the house. Even though everybody, you know, expects that these days both people need to contribute financially to the household. Even though Meghan was a career woman, her whole entire life before she met Harry, it's just the man in him that feels like I need to do all I can to bring in the money, to bring in more of that. Not even because it's like, oh, like I got to do this because Meghan expects it, because he doesn't feel that way. It's more like Harry feels like he has to prove these things to himself. Like, I had such a non traditional life. And if I'm going to try to make it in more of a traditional way, then I got to take on all the aspects of having a more traditional life in a sense. Also, the other thing is that Spirit's saying he doesn't want Meghan stressing about money either. It's like, I want to know that if you work, you're doing it simply because this is a passion project of mine. This is something I believe in. This is something that I really wanted to do, and not I took that project or did that thing because we have a mortgage payment due. So it does show him having this real desire to be more of a money maker and more of the financial stability in the family. They're not broke. It's just, normal stuff that I think a lot of men, think about. Um, as far as Megan towards Harry, you guys, this is so funny. I was not expecting this. But listen, he's not the one that's known as the Prince of Pegging, so I guess we can give a slow clap round of applause for Harry because he be blowing Megan's mind in the bedroom and they be having some good ass times in that. Like the cards are showing it and everything. It is funny. Um, she, you know what though? I think any of us could look at the shit that Megan goes through. Especially, I think, if you've been on my channel long enough, and especially if you're in my Patreon, we know being rich, being famous, having money, none of that is ever a guarantee for anybody to be happy or content or feel good about where they're at in their life. And all of the stress and the drama and all the shit that she's been put through since she's been with Harry, being able to be, oh, I'm a princess, or I have a Spotify podcast that I get a lot of money for or something, it's not an equal trade off by any means. Like, we can't excuse that away and be like, but she's a princess. Like, the girl gets so much hate constantly. I don't think being a princess makes up for that. But Spirit is saying there is no part of her that ever feels like she made a mistake in marrying Harry. She really feels like she picked the best man to be her husband and her children, and that he has shown up and proven to her that he is willing to do whatever it takes to make their family work and make them safe and protect it. So she actually feels really happy and safe in her relationship, which is good. Because I think that's something a lot of us wish that we could find or say that we have or whatever. And I think that that's far more important than a lot of people realize. We don't think about that when we're dating somebody or we're like starting to like feel like, ooh, maybe that's going to be my boyfriend. It's just like, ooh, he got some good deed. He got money and he's cute, or whatever. But we don't like really sit there and think about like, do I really feel safe with this person? And like, I know that they're going to always do everything that they can for me and my family and make sure we're safe and we're good. She found that. So they're incredibly good with each other and really happy. And that, like I said, that little like warning from Spirit saying like, in the future, they're saying this is literally like years down the road as life gets busier. I do see Megan working in politics to some extent. I don't feel like she's going to run for president like people are saying. I don't feel that she's going to be even a senator or a congresswoman. I keep feeling it being more so in the realm of like advocacy groups, or like I help work on campaigns or things like that, but not I am the person out in front that everybody's pushing and campaigning for. So that is cute. I'm like, I want a boy like that. That sounds fun. I'm like, where's my Harry? I want to feel safe and get my back blown. What a combination, Megan. Meanwhile, somewhere Kate's trying to get the strap on underneath her flannel nightgown because it's pegging night in the Cambridge household. So I haven't seen those, Deborah, but I mean, like I was saying at the beginning, if you took videos of me or anybody and chopped them and cut them up or zoomed in on a certain part or paused at a certain point, you could say anybody looks like they're unhappy with their partner or that they were pissed off or they were mad at their sister-in-law or whatever, like you can pick apart anything on anybody if you wanted to and make it fit a narrative. It doesn't mean it's true. And at the end of the day, too, Spirit saying, nobody's perfect. Even the happiest of couples have their moments where they get on each other's nerves, where they fight, where they argue. It's just about making up later on, and that you're in a good place after the fact. So, I actually did a reading on that previously, Tennille. As far as right now, and you guys, if you have any other questions about the royal family, drop it down below because I got to hop off of here in 15 minutes because I have to call somebody for an appointment. And also, knock on wood, because we still have 15 minutes that I'll be on here. Cheers to the state of California for not having a power outage tonight. Because we have had power outages the last 3 nights in a row with this crazy ass heat wave. And it's like, when it literally, they're like, oh, conserve energy because it's 113 right now. And then 5 minutes later, the electricity gets shut off. It's like, no. Because every time it would come back on, it wouldn't be on long enough for the AC to like pull it down fast enough, and then it'd get kicked off again. We was sweaty. So, well, same thing with me. I'm like, I'm freaking, that's why, like, first of all, I can never get away with lying. Because either the tone of my voice or my face will completely give it away. I am far too of an expressive person. But that's also why I'm such an expressive person that anybody could go chop up my shit and make a complete and then she was thinking that she was gonna do this later, and the whole time I was literally just sitting there being probably in my head freaking out, not wanting to trip and fall in a public place in front of a bunch of people or have my heel break or worried about some other shit, that had nothing to do with it. So that's why it's I don't really honestly keep up with everything that they do that much anyways. So, I don't see all those videos. But as far as Kate and Harry's relationship now, Spirit's saying that Harry's really disappointed in Kate. I don't think that he's completely written her off the way that he has his brother. Spirit saying Camilla is on Harry's shit list. If you guys didn't know, Camilla and Charles are the ones that got outed as having said the racist stuff, about oh, I wonder what color he's gonna be, and apparently Camilla was laughing and saying oh, what if your baby comes out with a bright orange afro and black skin, and then laughing about it to Harry, and apparently that was the most egregious of the stuff came from Camilla, but Kate's not in the Camilla and William category, but what Spirit's saying is, number one, Harry knows that Kate has and will always do what Will wants her to do first and foremost. Which she has to. I mean, she's his wife, that's why it's hard when you have these family things like that, because you're married to the one of them and you still like the other person, but it's I have to obviously be more on my husband's side. But the Spirit saying Harry feels bad for her because he feels like if I felt like I didn't have a voice, or if I didn't have, all these rights, or Megan didn't, like Kate has it far worse than, the rest of us do or did. And she will have it far worse going forwards the more and more, that they prepare her to become queen. So I get that he mostly feels like sad for her, but I also get that Harry doesn't really have any great hope for Kate anymore either, because especially now that he's on the outside looking in and seeing how absolutely controlled and stuck and trapped, because he's even said they're trapped, that everybody is in that whole institution. It's like he doesn't have any hope for her because he knows what she's up against, and it's like Kate's never going to have a voice of her own or any opportunities of her own as long as she's still in this family. So it's like I can't count on her to be the person that's going to step up and always do the right thing, but I don't hold it against her either. But I'm also not going to like sit here and like beat myself up every night over the fact that like I don't get to be as close to her as I used to. And honestly, I think that there was maybe some trauma bonding that was happening between Kate and Harry without either one of them realizing that that's even what was going on. Because it's almost like, oh, you're my prison buddy. We probably wouldn't have been friends if we hadn't ended up in prison together. But since we got to share a cell for however many years now, let's make the best of it and at least have that person that it's like, you get it. You're my comic relief, or my, person in the middle of all of this stuff. But I do not, I don't get that they are ever going to be that close again. So what other monarchies even are there, Mimi? Because most of the monarchies that I even know that they still have in place, like in Spain and stuff, it's very similar where it's like you're more of a figurehead type figure, but even they don't take up as much resources or get talked about as much or do as much of any of like what the British royal family does. But I don't think it's gonna matter in the future, Mimi. I mean, first and foremost, if you actually study history, then you'll know that these Germans occupying the British royal family space weren't even the real original royal family or were supposed to be in the first place. Um, so there's that. But secondly, it's I don't I don't get that like it would even matter because it's like they won't even have any sort of a royal family anyways, and it would just be like more like I guess like clout or cool points or whatever that someday maybe Prince George's kids can be like, my great grandpa, was the king of England for 8 years or something like that. But that's about all it will boil down to. And to be honest with you, as I was saying that, Spirit is saying there is going to be such a turning of the tides. I mean, obviously, that's what's coming and going to end the monarchy in the first place, anyways. But I almost feel like by the time that we even get to Prince George being old enough to even think about having kids, he may be living under a different name and identity or telling his kids, don't you ever fucking tell anybody where we did come from. Because I keep getting it not being cool in clout points and more like, oh, so y'all are the colonizers? Cool. And then it being like, oh shit, we got found out, time to hide. So, yeah, they're definitely trapped. I mean, it is kind of crazy. Like, just think about it, really, for a second. You're born to your parents, right? And whatever it is that your mom or dad does for a living, you have to do that. You have no other choice. Like, how fucking shitty is that when you really think about it? Like, I have to be a dentist just because my dad was, or I have to, like, work at the post office just because my mom did. But that's how it is for the royal family. And like they don't get to have their own destiny. They don't get to choose. They don't get to do any of the make their own choices. You see that they were pushing William to marry Kate and were all down his throat when they did break up because they were like, "Oh my god, but she was the most appropriate girl to be queen in the future and who else are you going to go out with now?" Now we have to retrain a new one. Like, come on. I do not for a second think that William would have gotten married when he did, first and foremost, nor do I think he would have married Kate if he hadn't had all that pressure on him in the first place. So they just basically, get told what to do and are expected to do it, and that just sounds fucking awful. I'm sorry. Like, getting to call yourself a prince or a princess is not enough of a fucking exchange to make that worth it, that you can't even marry who you want or stay single longer until you're ready to finally settle down or have a career or a life for yourself. And yeah, they get to live in castles, but think about, you have to live in a castle. You don't get to live anywhere else because that's where you're the most secure. You have to live in some old, windy, drafty castle that some old dead people from thousands of centuries before you built. And it's probably haunted as hell. Like, when you really break it down, it's like none of this actually sounds all that fun. But then again, life is about perspective, guys, and you can make anything sound amazing and anything sound horrible, which is why I tell you guys, choose the right perspective that benefits you. Choose to look at things in a good way if you can. Always try to find the blessing or the lesson in every situation. Don't just look for the bad. I think it is, Mimi. I think they might be one of the only few like actual like kingdoms left. And I'm not talking because dictatorship is obviously a different thing. But I was just trying to think about it. I'm like, is there any countries left that are not dictatorships that really truly have a real true ruling monarchy? I don't think that there is. Well, see, Deborah, and didn't Queen Lizard learn anything? She made Andrew and Charles marry who she thought was appropriate for them, and both of them ended up in disastrous divorces. Although, honestly, at this point, I'm just like, I think Fergie and Andrew are like the perfect match for each other. And I don't think that they'll get married now. I think that they were going to get remarried because I kept hearing that Andrew and Fergie were waiting for Prince Philip to pass so they could get married because Prince Philip obviously hated Fergie with a passion after she got busted on those yacht toe sucking pictures. But with all of the stuff that happened around the Maxwell trial stuff and all the other stuff that's happened, I don't think Fergie and Andrew will get legally remarried, but I think that they're just gonna like, spend the rest of their lives together, which they've been living together for years anyways, if you guys didn't know that. So, oh, Dubai is also, and Monaco. Well, here we are having geography lessons with Bella on a Friday night. Who thought that's what we were going to be doing? But that's why I say my channels are learning communities. We also learn, we don't just gossip. And when we gossip for a reason so we can learn not to be as fucked up as all these people. And to remind y'all that just because they got more money than us does not mean their lives are better in any way. You see, look at Meghan and Harry and Kate. They're some of the most attractive people in the world that have the most resources and the most money, and their family is the most fucked up. So stop feeling bad about your own life. So, anyways, guys, I have to go because I gotta call a client. Yes, for sure. Biggie was right. Mo money, mo problems. And if you guys didn't see the Biggie and Lizard memes, go look up those ones. They are funny. Like, people were trying to act like Biggie and Queen Elizabeth were getting down together on the other side, but I just I don't feel like Lizard went to the same place the Biggie or a lot of us will be going when we leave this earth. I think she had a very long walk downstairs to hell, and I don't think she's reached the end of the staircase yet. But she'll get there eventually. I'm flying up to heaven though, so I'll be good. So, anyways, guys, I love you. If you want to book your own personal private reading, psychicbellalove.com. I did recently lower all the prices, so no coupon codes are needed. Also, join the Patreon, patreon.com/psychicbellalove or Instagram/psychicbellalove. If you haven't figured it out yet, I am Psychic Bella Love everywhere because nobody was using that name except for me in the beginning. It's always been my name. I am the originator of it. So, anyways, guys, love you, and I will see you guys next Friday for our live all about the Kardashians. And in the meantime, if anything happens, you guys know you will get videos from me in the meantime. Have a good one, guys. Bye.